Gopi Vallabh Radha, Gopi Vallabh Radhe, Jaya Radha, Gopi Vallabh Radha, Gopi Vallabh Radhe, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much for coming in. Just arrange my paper a little. And I'll then tell what the topic for the day is. ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरू श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं स्वग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितां सजीवम् सदैतं सवदूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गे राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी विष्णुभानुसुते देवी प्रणनामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे श्री प्रभुपाद की जय today's topic is based on what has been said in Bhagavad Gita as being the qualities of a devotee. The 26 qualities that are mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita that a devotee is supposed to be having. We're going to pick only one of them. We're not going to do all 26 because that would be 26 classes in total. Even one, if you want to go in full detail, it's obviously, the more you want to go in depth, it's always possible. The one that we're going to talk about today is compassion. So, compassion is one of the qualities that has been said as part of the 26 qualities. That is what a devotee is supposed to have. But what does compassion really mean? What is that you're supposed to be compassionate for? How is that we show compassion? How is that people are authentic, people are going to show compassion to us? All of that aspect is what we would be covering today. Okay. But before we kick off, even before we go into this Vedic scriptures, the teachings of the acharyas like Srila Prabhupada or anybody else in that matter, we're just going to do what is called a very logical understanding of things. And the starting point of that is purely from the base of English as a language. The same thing can also be done in different languages, but because we are using English as a medium right now, and I would request participation. What do you think does compassion mean? Like, what is the meaning of compassion? When we say I'm compassionate to somebody, somebody's been compassionate to me, we should be compassionate. We use this word a lot, but what is the meaning? Anybody? Yeah? Kindness, being kind. Anything else? Showing care. Yes. Anything else? What else does compassion mean? Hare Krishna. What else would it mean to be compassionate? Being empathetic, yes. Anything else? Helping people when they're in trouble. So one is an aspect of emotion. The other is when you felt that emotion, there is an action associated to it also, right? I'm going to read what the dictionary definition is of the word, and that is going to set down the ground for us to talk about. So, compassion, it says, the emotional response of recognizing others' suffering and feeling a strong, benevolent desire to elevate it. So, first component we are saying is that aspect where you're feeling somebody else's pain or suffering in any form. That's the first aspect. That aspect of, oh, you are suffering needs to be felt first. And then that's not where compassion ends by definition. Compassion after that also gets into the territory of, once you have felt that, you want to do something about it. It's not I'm going to do what is best possible for me. It is that strong urge from within to do what is best possible to eliminate the suffering of the other person. That is by definition compassion. So two components. One is to feel the emotions, the sufferings, and the second is to try and help. Now these are the signs that for anybody, even in our human society, again, without even going to Vedic culture, even without going to what the Vedic scriptures talk about, these are qualities that we are expected to have. If you are showing such qualities, then you are considered as a good person. But if you're not showing such composure for somebody else, and you neglect somebody else's sufferings or neglect to help somebody in suffering, then even our society right now would categorize that person as a bad, selfish person. Do we agree to that? So even if we don't go into very deep into what is the right Vedic version of doing things, even without going into the depth of what is a true characteristic of a Vaishnava or a devotee, even without all of that, also we can very clearly establish the need for compassion in society, right? Now I'm going to give out a few examples, and I want to understand: do you categorize any act, such actions as being compassionate or not? And then we'll deep dive into understanding of each of them. So you're walking by and you see somebody very hungry. Would you feel compassionate? And somebody wanting to do something for that hungry person, will that be called compassion? You seeing somebody who's hungry, who's not able to afford food, a homeless person, let's say for example, and you feel something from within your heart, would that be categorized compassion? How many say yes? Show of hands. Anybody says no? Nobody says no. Okay. Next, if I say that somebody is feeling very emotionally low right now, low energy, low motivation, they're going through a phase in life which is making them very sad. Going and sitting next to them and just lending your ear, lending your shoulder to them and saying, I'm there for you, would you categorize that as compassion? Yes? Anybody says no? Would you categorize it as compassion if somebody does something wrong to you, but in response to that, you say, it's okay, I'm not going to seek revenge, but I'll forgive the person. I'm not going and doing an eye for an eye situation where you did something, I'm going to do something back to you, but I forgive you and break that chain over there. Would we call that as compassion? So in our society, that is how we see different actions, every day to day actions, every day to day situations, where we see compassion being applied. But now let's talk about a few situations where without the proper understanding and context, this compassion becomes like you're joking, right? So let me take this example. When I was working in India, I used to travel a lot to US for business purposes, and then we would go out for lunches as part of our business meets or socializing or connections or networking, what, right? All of those different reasons. So in one of these lunch catch-ups, where it was summertime, so we were on the patio outside, and the lady whom we were meeting with, we were discussing, we're talking about a multiple different things, and all of a sudden, she hears this. sound of the dog whining. You know how a dog, when it get hit, they will start crying. And that she heard, and she said, "Oh, poor little dog. Poor little dog is hurt. I'm hoping that this dog is okay. I don't know what happened. Who is that foolish person who's been driving crazy? Maybe a car hit that dog." Feeling very, very compassionate at heart, right? But what was in her plate while she was doing this as an emotion? So is this really compassion, or is this just a show of compassion where we are showing compassion for one and not showing for other? So we talked about these different examples of where we are saying a behavior like this can be categorized as compassion. Very good. But there's an attribute of compassion. If it is truly a nature of an individual, it reflects as universal behavior. Do we agree? It's not going to be like how we would say, um, we have been doing this in the society a lot. We have been dividing the society based on a lot of different criteria. So fe- feeling compassion for your kind, of whatever your definition of your kind is, feeling compassion only for your kind and not for others, that's is that truly compassion? No. So universal behavior of compassion is going to be there. So I feel compassion for white but not for black. I feel compassion for men but not for women. I feel compassion for humankind but not for animals. I feel compassion for my countrymen but not for others. No matter how we divide the society, compassion, if it is a quality within us, it applies irrespective, right? The second part is compassion as a show without knowledge. Okay, let's take another example. There is a person who was next to a well, somehow ends up, and imagine yourself to be that person, okay? And somehow the person falls inside the well. Now you're stuck over there, you're not able to come out on your own. You're stuck there for 2 days. You're going to be hungry, you're in dark, dingy environment, you are thirsty, you're in a lot of suffering, maybe a lot of bugs are troubling you, whatever, right? You can just imagine all the stuff that is there. Now you are crying out for help. That's the only thing that you can do, because you cannot get yourself out of that situation. You're crying out with whatever energy is left. You're crying, crying, crying. Somebody comes by and he looks inside the well and asks you, "What's happening? Why are you crying?" And you say, "I'm stuck here for last 2 days. No food, no water. All these bugs are troubling me. So light, dark, so dingy, stinky." Oh, you're troubled because of no food, no water, all being dark. So the person very compassionately throws down food for you, a bottle of water, a flashlight, and walks away. Is that compassion? Why? He should have pulled him out. So compassion, when shown without knowledge of what is the actual problem, is a compassion of no use. It's only a show. When we don't understand what exactly is the problem, then what are we showing compassion for? Have we individually ourselves felt and somebody comes up to us and says, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear this," and etc., and you clearly know on their face that they have no understanding of your problem and they're just doing a show, right? So that is not compassion. So let's understand that without knowledge, when we act, then it is of no help, even compassion. The problem with doing things without knowledge is also that it can be ill purposed just because of lack of knowledge. Its direction can be changed from what you're trying to do as good and turning out to be bad. Let's take a few examples here, right? Mothers or parent in general, especially mothers, would have a lot of compassion and love for their child, right? Out of that compassion, they're trying to love them, bring up, do an upbringing very nicely, right? That is how we have all felt, or we are doing it. But if there is compassion or love changes its direction and it becomes that my child is never wrong, I'm not going to scold, punish my child, or correct them when they are wrong out of my feeling for love for them, is that really correctly purposed compassion? There's a story that Srila Prabhupada says in this context. This is very beautiful. He's talking about this death row inmate, basically a person who is going to be hanged very soon because of all the um, unlawful activities that the person did. Now he's right there, few minutes before the person is hanged, and he's been asked, "What is your last wish?" Right? And the person says, "I want to talk to my mom." The mom is brought in and said, "Yes, what do you want to tell me, my dear? I've loved you all my life." So, "No, I have a secret to tell in your ear. Come close." First, the mother goes with with the ear close to the mouth, and what does the person do? Bites off the ear. And like, why? Why did you do that? I said, had you stopped me from doing all the wrong when I started doing it, I would not have been in this position. So that is what it is. Like when it is ill purposed, without knowledge, compassion, it is of no use. Rather, it can become destructive in nature, where instead of we trying to do good for the person, we end up doing the bad. No worries. So these are all we are saying based on our understanding